Welcome to the latest episode in the 2025 Ontario Business Achievement Awards, brought to you by our series presenting partner, Canadian National Railway. I'm Daniel Tisch, President and CEO of the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. Our theme for this year is Building a Stronger Ontario, Competitiveness and Resilience. As our country grapples with economic uncertainty, we need bold leadership to secure our future. That's why we're spotlighting Ontario business leaders who've shown courage and adaptability to drive a more competitive and resilient economy. So I want to thank our episode partner, NACA, that's the National Aboriginal Capital Corporations Association. Without them, we couldn't have made this program. In this episode, we're talking about entrepreneurship, and in particular, we're celebrating Indigenous entrepreneurs. I've been inspired so many times when I hear stories about the 75,000 Indigenous-owned businesses across our country. And at the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, we consider economic reconciliation among our most important imperatives as we seek to grow a more diverse and competitive economy to take on the world. That's why I'm so excited to hear about some of the businesses that we're speaking with today. And to tell us more, here's my colleague, Andrea Carmona. Andrea.
Thanks, Dan. The contribution of Indigenous economies to the Canadian GDP is estimated to be between $50 to $56 billion, while 90% of those companies have fewer than 10 employees. Today, we will hear about two businesses that are making their mark both artistically and culturally. The first is the story of Darcy Everson, the owner of a business based out of Thunder Bay called Everbead. Darcy is leaning into Indigenous cultural traditions as a way to heal her customers. But just before hearing her story, this program would not be possible without our episode partner. So this is a special shout out to our friends at the National Aboriginal Capital Corporations Association.
Indigenous entrepreneurs are building stronger nations and more prosperous local economies from coast to coast to coast, and they're not doing it alone. Through a national network of over 50 Indigenous financial institutions, NACA connects Indigenous business owners with specialized support, mentorship, and financing options. Since 1996, we've delivered more than 53,000 business loans, investing more than $3.3 billion into Indigenous-owned businesses. Are you ready to start, grow, or manage your own business? Visit naca.ca to find the IFI nearest you. Access funding, mentorship, and become part of a thriving community of Indigenous entrepreneurs across Canada. NACA. Indigenous prosperity through entrepreneurship.
Hi, my name is Darcy Everson, and I am the founder of Everbead. I started Everbead in 2018, and what we do is create beading kits and facilitate beading as healing workshops. So the way Everbead uses culture into our business model is by incorporating things from the natural world, such as porcupine quills, birch bark, and dentilium shells, for example. We include those into our beading kits. And these would have been things that we used for beading prior to colonization. And we also apply circle work when we facilitate our workshops because it ensures that everybody is included. We like to begin our workshops with a smudge, and so even though it is virtual, we kind of believe that the smudge will reach who it needs to reach within the circle. So when I started out, I really didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I needed to fill this gap in my area that, we didn't have a bead supplier where I was living. And so that's what my initial goal was. And it kind of unfolded naturally into, beading kits. At the time, I reached out to NADF, and I was fortunate enough to be matched up with a financial officer who helped me kind of formulate a business plan. And that really kind of gave me a starting point of where I was going to go with it. In addition, I had a private investor who invested into the business, and that was really helpful as well. And so I think like grants instead of loans would be super helpful for entrepreneurs just starting out, because I really didn't know what I was doing. And if it didn't go well and I had to pay money back into a loan, then that would be a pretty big hardship. Everbead's slogan is healing the vibe, one bead at a time. And so I really think we are healing the vibe, and we really can see that in our workshops and in the amazing work that people are doing with the beading kits. And, it is amazing because beading is not only in North America or Turtle Island, but across the world as well.
That is some beautiful work, Darcy. Thank you for sharing your passion with our audience. And now, a message from our series presenting partner, CN.
Getting 300 million tons of freight to market and powering the economic growth of a nation, that takes a lot. It takes fortitude and focus, a strong footprint, and a commitment to reducing it. It takes partnerships, communities, collaboration. It takes a vision and care for one another. It takes all of us together into the future.
Thank you to CN, our partner, helping us to produce the OBAA series. Now, to our second feature. Marie L'Italienne is the president and CEO of the Greater Sudbury Chamber of Commerce. Recently, Marie had the opportunity to sit down with Jennifer Tabac of Design de Plume. Together, they talked about the highs and the challenges of getting a new business off the ground, and the support systems available to help new entrepreneurs. Here's part of their conversation.
Thank you, Jennifer, for sitting down with us today to talk a little bit about your journey and your path through opening a business. So how long has Design de Plume been in business?
We started in 2009 in the recession of then, and we celebrated our Sweet 16 this year with our staff, which has been really exciting.
That's great. Congratulations. Starting a business is challenging, so tell us a little bit about how you got through those difficult times.
I think it's really funny because when we started Design de Plume, I was just like, let's just open a business. And I remember going down to the city, and just saying, okay, I need a business license. What do I do, right? And here you go. We walk out an hour later with a business license and really nothing else, just an idea for a business. So that was the first challenge of just realizing, what's the paperwork? What does it mean to have a business, to, do copyright for your name and do that sort of stuff. And over the years, because I went to school for design, they do teach basic business skills, like contracting, but running a business is a job in and of itself. And I think understanding what an entrepreneur is versus, just an employer or designer has been an ever-growing challenge, especially as your business scales. So starting from, a couple of people, our friends out of college, to hiring your first employee.
And on that note, what sets Design de Plume apart from other creative design agencies?
Yeah, when we first started I think like a lot of businesses, we wanted to be everything to everyone. And over the years, it really became quickly, as an entrepreneur, as a business person, you're trying to solve problems. So I started DDP seeing a problem of people needing web pages and logos because I was working at a different job. And I was like, okay, people are asking for these services, I'll solve that. And then when we got into the field and started the company, it became clear very quickly that when we worked with our First Nations partner, they experienced the additional challenge of sometimes the lack of capacity, high turnover rate, and often web agencies or design studios would come in and complete a project and then leave with no support. So that knowledge transfer of that project, they would have to restart, so that investment would be lost. And that was really frustrating to me. So over the years, we helped articulate our processes, our voice to attract those clients, and really understand how the approach to that problem translates to a lot of businesses. When we think about sustainability for us is not just environmental, it's keeping that knowledge in the business. Doing rebrands, doing all those communication pieces are very expensive. You don't want to be redoing it in 24 months. And that ROI, it's a basic value proposition, but in terms of our Indigenous clients, it really helped us set apart and acknowledge those challenges very quickly.
Indigenous-owned and led businesses are very important to the Canadian economy. What can Canadian-owned businesses learn from our Indigenous-led businesses?
Great question, and one that I've been looking at over the years as I try to, also support other businesses and learn and kind of explain what the advantages are. And here at Design to Plume, we've articulated it we call it our ideas lenses, which starts with indigeneity. So we look at work accessibility, sustainability. We always start with indigeneity because it's a different approach. And I think much like the data on women-owned businesses, Indigenous businesses think beyond just the bottom line revenue. How can we support our First Nations? How can we grow our staff? How can we share knowledge, capture it? And even pieces in our projects, sometimes I'm thinking, how can I revitalize language? But how can I put Anishinaabe on this website and get youth involved or capture elder stories? So I think all the way from implementation to big picture thinking, there are different perspectives that just have not been included in past conversations as well that help all entrepreneurs across Canada.
Mentorship happens in many official and organic ways. Tell us how this has contributed to your path and your success.
Mentorship over the years has been really something I've learned how to take advantage of. In the beginning, it was a lot more professional. So through the registered graphic designers, they had a mentorship program, which I was both, at both ends of. So very quickly, I learned that my experience could translate to other young designers, especially in the entrepreneurial space. And then as I got older, it was a lot more, I would say, personal, professional. The chamber networks, being at Cambrian College on the board, taking advantage of other very smart people who are helpful and have similar experiences, but different perspectives has been huge over the years and something I hope to take more advantage of at both ends as we grow. And I also want to mention Wabatech too, because we, as a small business, they were really supportive initially when we were, looking at how do we get some money to fund our idea. And I think all the statistics show, women and Indigenous businesses, they don't use other capital, right? They're very often self-funded, which means that their growth is slower. So, and they also know other businesses and they want the networks want their businesses to thrive, their networks to connect. And it was really helpful because they didn't just buy our services, but they connected us with other people and provided that material. So those are very clear, easy ones, I think, that have been a huge help here in Sudbury.
If you had words of advice for your younger self starting out in business, what would they be?
Yeah, that is such a good question. I would say, take advantage of those networks quicker. I think when you're starting, you're really you're kind of tumbling in space is what I felt like. There's so much things, whether it's, contracting for new clients, finding work, right? It's always the thing for finding work. But developing those networks early on, getting into them, I would say we were fairly good, but I'm not the most sociable person. I don't like always going out to ask questions or finding that advice. So I would have pushed myself to really go out there. And I'd say the programs at Cambrian were really good at establishing those networks where I understood the value, but I don't think I took as much advantage as I could have. And honestly, I think it would have been looking at those funding sources earlier on. Bootstrapping, like I said, if I could go back, I'd be like, use other people's money. Do it, you believe in yourself, find your voice, be confident in that, and just go and do it. We see a lot of male-run businesses very quickly. They're just assuming that they're going to get cash to do it. And understanding those systems and seeing how much more is in place now, in terms of the education. The systems are still the same. They haven't fundamentally changed in 10 years, but the understanding of how to use them and making them more accessible has grown. So I would just push myself to be a little bit more of a risk taker.
Great advice, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today, and congratulations on 16 years in business.
Thank you so much for coming today.
Wow, thanks, Andrea, for bringing some style to those stories. As we listened, I was reminded about the incredible resilience of Indigenous people, nations, and communities, and how much we can learn from Indigenous entrepreneurs as we work together to build a stronger economy and a more inclusive economy too. We've come to the end of this episode, and I want to thank our OBA series presenting partner, Canadian National Railway, and our episode partner, NACA. Finally, thanks to you, our viewers. Don't forget to join the conversation. You'll find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and the Ontario Chamber website. Until next time, stay connected and stay inspired.
Hello, I'm Viktor Karchenko, Vice President Finance at the OCC, and I'm here to present the 2025 Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award. The award recognizes an Ontario entrepreneur under 35 years old who has successfully built an unique and game-changing venture. The venture must have been on the market for more than a year, and the winner must have proven their ability to establish strategic partnerships to commercialize their offering. It is being brought to you today by the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. And the winner is Daniel Moll of Earthsuds.
Thank you to the Ontario Chamber of Commerce for this tremendous honor. The Chamber has been such an important voice for Ontario's business community, and I'm proud to be part of the innovation that's shaping our province's future. I'd also like to thank the Earthsuds team, whose hard work makes everything we do possible. And of course, I need to also thank our customers and partners, whose belief in our mission drives us forward every day. This award is a reminder of what's possible when business and sustainability come together. It's also a reminder that age is just a number. You can make a meaningful impact at any age if you just put your mind to it. I was only a teenager when, on a family vacation, I came across a beach covered in plastic waste. And that moment inspired me to take action, and Earthsuds was born. Being recognized here shows that Ontario supports young entrepreneurs, and it motivates me to keep moving forward with our mission. Thank you so much.
A special salute to all the worthy nominees in this category. And a big congratulations again to the 2025 Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award winner, Daniel Moll. Thank you also to our viewers. Don't forget to join the conversation. Find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and on our website. Bye for now.